Hi, Victor. Thank you so much for taking the time out for this podcast episode. I really appreciate it. How are you doing today?
Doing really good. Thank you very much. How are you doing?
Yeah, great. Yeah, yeah, super excited for this episode. So, we chose the topic to talk about self-appreciation, about how we take care of ourselves, how we look ourselves, and giving ourselves like a high five, like every time we achieve something, or even though having a bad time, which you really passionate to talk about. So before getting into that topic, I just wanna, and our audience would love to know about yourself, how you became a life coach, and what you used to do become before you become a life coach.
Okay, so let's see. We'll go back and beforehand, I was a teacher at middle school and did coaching at high school.
Yeah.
And with a lot of my students, even at that time, I had saw a lot of students where they were very focused on, of course, their grades, their you know them achieving to that next level, but
Hmm.
they often were very conflicted about what they were actually achieving at this point, or couldn't really appreciate it. A lot of them struggled with a lot of imposter syndrome as well, even at that stage.
Yeah.
And when it came to appreciating their own talents and skills and growth, they just didn't see it, and they just felt like they still weren't good enough. So as I was going through that, I was
Hmm.
actually learning more about myself too, and realizing that, hey, I do that all the time, and I didn't appreciate a lot of who I was. I struggle a lot with imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
and had to learn for myself um, how to actually see my own worth and appreciate my own value, and start realizing that I actually am good at what I do, and I know what I can do, and kind of build from there. With that, then I realized that, you know what, I need to grow and go in some new directions. So that helped me to kind of step out and away from
Yeah.
teaching, but use a lot of that skill and put it towards coaching. So moving towards that, I've developing mindset coaching, working with people who experience imposter syndrome, and helping them to build and develop their own self-appreciation so they can grow and actually work towards these true goals that they want to
Hmm.
achieve.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite interesting. We see oftentimes most successful people, even though they achieve so many things, still they don't appreciate themselves. Like they still they're not good enough. They haven't done the whatever they should be doing. So in terms of the topic we talked about, so how long ago you started becoming coach?
About 2 years ago is when everything was kind of finally coming together.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's when it was, I was pulling it all together, developing everything that I needed to, and moving forward. What really has helped is I have a master's in industrial and organizational psychology. So
hmm,
that helped me to kind of formulate understanding of just, let's say leadership and organizations, but at the same time, also then a master's in leadership development and coaching. So that
yeah,
helped to give me a foundation for coaching itself, and really knowing the aspects of how to connect with people. Although I had a lot of that going through with teaching, which helped
yeah.
me to understand. As I'm going through that understanding with coaching, I'm like, oh wait, I was doing some of that stuff before. So it helped me to kind of build those connections and start building up my own practice.
Yeah, that's great. And who do you normally work with at the moment? Do you work with everyone or a certain type of people, like entrepreneurs, or everyone comes to you?
So at the moment, I'm working more with entrepreneurs and leaders. Many of them are women,
Yeah.
because a lot of them kind of really struggle with just their own appreciation and approval based on so
Hmm.
many different aspects of past experiences, culture, society, biases, and things of that nature. So that's a big part of my focus. And it kind of connects into what I really wanted to do with it anyways, because again, even though I'd see it in a lot of my students when I was teaching,
Yeah.
a lot of the girls that were in my class seem to often get hit more intensely with, lacking of their own self-appreciation, and struggling with imposter syndrome. So
Yeah.
moving forward, it's like that's something I wanted to hit. Plus, seeing it within the entrepreneur and leadership, um, I know there's a lot of women out there that really want to take those steps to really kind of put themselves in a better position for their own creativity and their own putting their own skills. But at the same time, they're like really hesitant to think is this something that they could do or should do?
Mhm.
And I want to help them to realize that they're not only just their potential, but to see their own skills and worth to put it out there and go for it.
Yeah, yeah, that's quite fascinating, like the topic to talk about. So, what do you think, like, what's the most common problem? Like, why don't we appreciate ourselves in terms of like career-wise or even personal life, or in any kind of like a situation, like we not tend to be appreciating ourselves? And you worked with a lot of people, you coach a lot of people. So when it comes to like a mind, like what is the main problem is like we having to not appreciating ourselves?
I see two things that are the main problems. One, of course, is comparison. So we
Right.
often will compare ourselves to everybody else. And you can easily see it in social media.
Mhm.
Taking it, for instance, even with entrepreneurs, there's so many on social media that are always showing off what they're doing or what they've purchased or, what they have in certain ways. And so
Yeah.
when you're looking at it as an entrepreneur, you're thinking, oh, wow, they've got that. Look at what they've done. I'm nowhere near that. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't obviously, I'm not going to be able to achieve that level. I don't have those skills. I don't have what they have. So it already takes you out of that mindset of saying, okay, you know what,
Yeah.
I can do my thing because we're comparing ourselves with it. The other thing is we look so much at now that we're
Hmm.
seeing where we are now. Okay, well, okay, I'm here. I'm at the starting point. Oh, I don't know if I can do it. And then connecting in with the comparison, but still we're looking at this now and it's like, oh, wow, it's like, I'm not even there. I don't know what I can do. How can I do it? We don't often reflect back on our appreciation for what have we already achieved in our life? What
Yeah.
skills have we put towards it? What learning growth, what time, effort, and knowledge do we have before that we put into it, and have we built since then? So we miss out on all those aspects of our own self-worth and achievements that we can even look at and go, okay, so I'm not where I want to be yet, obviously,
Hmm.
but if I look at the past, I can put it towards my growth. We never
Yeah.
see that. We just see everybody else and go, wow, they're so much better than I am. Look at where they are now. And then we see us and we're going, wow, I'm only here. It's like, oh, maybe this isn't for me. And that's as far as it goes. We're
Yeah.
looking at very short-term aspects and things that aren't really connecting with us.
We just compare ourselves with like a future our version of ourselves, like a future goal. And obviously it's always gonna be like a shortfall anyway, because so many things is out of control in our day-to-day life. So instead of like a week coming from, like you mentioned, going back to how far you have come, like how far, what have you achieved? Even though like it's a 10% achievement or 20% achievement, it is significantly more comparing to where you started from zero. Now you
Oh,
improve
definitely.
10% or 20%, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. And that's just it. I mean, you have to really look at what you've done. And again, it's not just, like you're saying, it's not just that achievement. It's like, look at
Yeah.
everything else you put into it, that time, the effort, your knowledge at that time, the skills you've built since then. And I mean, most of the time, those are things we never even think about. We just will look at the achievement, we dismiss
Mm,
it, or we just think, okay, yeah, I achieved those things, but it doesn't relate to what I'm doing now because
yeah.
we're looking at that final end goal of whatever we achieved and we're not seeing the connection. It's like, well, you have to look at everything else that went into it. And all of those aspects really do tie into what you want to do now.
Yeah, it's like it goes to like everything with your life, like especially you working with entrepreneurs, like we have like a problem with always like looking our future goals, future version of ourselves, where I have to be in 5 years time and 10 years time. We do appreciate like the current moment we are in. Like I remember like I had to go through like the same self-doubt like 2 3 years back, like when I started my business. It's been like 2 years I started my business, and it's not like where I wanted to be. I wanted to be like
Mhm.
7-figure business, but I don't realize like I came from like a quitting my job and being able to provide myself full time with my online business. So this is like a great achievement comparing to like I hating my job before.
Mm.
And still I feel like, oh no, I didn't achieve my 7-figure business yet. I am not where I need to be. And like all the time, like having a mental battle with myself and my thoughts, like this is not where I am. But eventually look at the all is the effort is not like a wasted. But right now it's like my nearly fifth year of my business now. Comparing like what prospecting I did, like 4 years back, they all
Mhm.
people noticing me right now. My business is growing. People from like I did presentation like 3 years back, they're becoming my clients now. But all of them effort is now wasted. But that time I thought like it's a total waste of my time, and like I didn't go where I'm supposed to be. And this is oftentimes like probably your clients been through like the same situation, like they put so much effort to like their business or their career, and then know where they are and just keep on thinking about it like I didn't achieve anything, self-doubt, and
Mhm.
then crippling them, right?
Oh, definitely. I had a client actually who had been developing a particular aspect of
Yeah.
their business, and they're looking at it and it's like, it's just not going anywhere. I was like, I did this, I thought this was going to work and the thing, but I'm not really enjoying it. I don't
Hmm.
like it. It's not really connecting with anybody. And I feel like it's just not there. And so through our conversation, I was asking her questions about it and she's telling me that, explaining it. And it was more of like, where she wanted it to be
Yeah.
was about another year away,
Yeah.
just in the natural process of building it
Yeah.
up and everything. And so she was looking at it like, it's not where I want it to be now. I'm like, okay, but it's not going to be because it's a
Yeah.
year from now. And so
Yeah.
as we started talking about it and we were looking at everything else that she had built up to that point, all the other connections, all the development that was building to it, that's when she realized, oh, okay, so it's it's not like it's a lost project. Maybe I
Hmm.
have to tweak it a little more. Maybe I have to kind of talk about it a little differently, but actually it's growing to where I want it to go. And it's actually in a good spot.
Yeah.
I just didn't see it. And I'm like, and that was really something eye-opening for her because again, she just was looking at, I want it to be, like you were saying, 7 figures, this is where I want it to be. And it's like, it's not
Yeah.
there. It's like, well, no, but look at where you have done and how it's built up to this point. It's not wasted. It's not a lost cause. You've actually done a lot of work to get it here. A few
Yeah.
little alterations, and it's going to keep moving in the direction you want it. So it really helped her because then she felt like, oh, this is good. She didn't feel like she had wasted all the time. She didn't feel like it was something to totally jettison. She felt now like, okay, I'm actually doing well. I'm actually moving in the right direction, and it's still going to take some time, but it
Yeah.
was like, okay, I could do this. So yeah, and you're right, because we don't often think about that. We see what we have, and
Yeah.
even still, it's like, okay, I want my business in 5 years to be 7 figure, but we look at it where we are now, we think we're at ground zero, like we have nothing. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, to get to this point that we are, look at everything that we've had to do to get to this point, all the different changes and growth just to get here, which isn't a lost cause. It's
Even though like learning itself like is quite fascinating, like even though you're starting a business you have to learn a lot of things from like
oh yes,
accounting, from like prospecting, from like managing your clients, or probably like even e-commerce business like a production of the finding a manufacturer, a vendor, and so many things like you
yes,
learn this skills. So this skills itself like worth the time, right?
yeah,
Even though
oh
like a
yes.
business is not making money, still there is the skills you have learned that's like taking something positive to it, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, you don't walk into it and going, okay, I'm going to start up a business and
Yeah.
I already know everything I need to know. Usually, when you start up a business, you're starting a whole new venture, something you've never done before, and you're going, okay, what do I got to do? And you're right, it's a
Mm,
whole learning process. So you're building up skills, you're building up knowledge, and it's just helping you to grow to make your business venture come to fruition. But
yeah.
you have to go through all that development to get to where you want to be. And yeah, it's wonderful because later on we look back at it and again we kind of think, oh, this is great, I'm doing so well. But it's like, look at what you did, look at all that growth and all that development of yourself to get to this point.
Yeah, it's like you're ahead of 99% of the people around you because of like so many people like hate their job and trying to quit it, and they have the idea of planning to do their own thing, but they're scared of like in taking the leap and going for it. But if you are actually in it, then you have to appreciate yourself and celebrate it. Like I have the courage to go out and start something, and obviously
Right.
eventually it's gonna work out.
Yeah. And with that, like you were saying too, it's like when you go out, you celebrate even the little wins. Even it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so I just did this first step. That's like, oh, hey, I just figured out how to set up my own website. That's not a small thing. That's a
Mm,
big deal. And you should be proud of yourself getting that far, especially if you've never done that before.
yeah,
Or you finished going through and understand how to do some of the accounting for yours, or you figure out what you need to do to start connecting with clients. These are actually small wins that you didn't know before. You've now
yeah,
gained skills, gained knowledge, you've grown. And those are little things you definitely should celebrate yourself for. And most people, of course, they don't, because we're now focused on the next thing. We got to look towards the
yeah,
next thing. But you have to appreciate, hey, I'm getting closer. I'm actually moving towards the goal that I want to. And that helps you when you step into something new.
mm,
Because you're right, many people are often afraid to take those risks and take those steps because they're afraid they don't know what they're doing. They're not going to be able to put it all together. But that's why, as you're going through, you should definitely celebrate in small ways, appreciate that you're actually accomplishing it and you're moving towards the goal that you want, because then you can actually look at it and go, oh, this is actually starting to come together. I still don't know everything.
yeah.
I'm still learning. I'm still making mistakes, but I'm actually moving towards where I want to be because of these things, because you can actually see them and embrace them. And it makes such a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And in terms of like that kind of mentality, I know like you coach on a lot of people on this topic, but with me, like what things is actually really work is making a journal. Like was like a beginning of the year when I started my goal, and the second year and third year, then I see that is there any kind of growth going, or like am I going downwards? If you see the growth I can see, and then obviously I need to tap on my shoulder and say, keep it up and try to like do what is working, do 10x more. Or if not, something is not going right, then obviously I have to tell myself I need to make some adjustment on my process in order to achieve the certain goals. And also like have the habits of like appreciating yourself every single morning, or like to the universe, like what am I grateful for in this morning? How far I've come compared to 5 years back, where my life used to be, or where am I at the moment, or even the 10 years back. So you're going to see then improvement rather than worse in some kind of situation.
Oh,
That's
yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's a wonderful thing that you're doing, as you've actually been already
yeah.
doing that, is because you get a chance to really reflect on
Mm,
where you've been, where you're going. And like you said, with the journal, you can look back and go, okay, am I still making progress? Am I going in the right direction? Or do I have to kind of readjust based on,
yeah.
whatever you might see on the journal? Or, as you said, kind of like looking back at what you've accomplished. That's all about reflecting and appreciating what you've done, where you've grown. And that's really, really important because, again, yes, it helps you to see what you've done, what you've
Yeah.
grown in, what you've acquired for yourself just in knowledge and skills. But you can do so by thinking and reflecting on it, going, okay, wait, am I actually heading in the right direction?
Mm,
Am I still making that progress? Is there something that I'm forgetting? It's like, because we can
yeah.
get wrapped up, especially when you're starting a business and you're building a business, you can get so focused on, six things that you need to do, which are
Yeah.
super important, and forget these four other things. And it doesn't mean you're like just totally dropping them, but you're so wrapped up in the other six. It's like, it helps you to go, okay, yep, I'm doing these six. This is really great. It's like, oh, wait, you know what? I haven't touched on this particular one. This is one aspect that I need to make sure I do. So, okay, I can write that down and start putting that into the process of me building up my business and taking that next step. So
Yeah.
reflecting is so good. And, as you've obviously seen and you're doing, it's not just a one-time thing. Like, okay, I'll just do it
No.
once and I'm good, I'm done. It's like you do it on a regular basis. And I have told clients, it's like I've worked with clients, it's like at the end of the week,
Yeah.
at the end of each week, look back, like write down, what have you accomplished for that week? What
Yeah.
were some of the challenges you've come across? How did you overcome the challenges? And again, that's another thing too, because many will come across a challenge, a mistake, a failure, and they look at it like, oh, wow, that's it. I totally messed up.
Mm,
I've ruined, I'm going to mess up my project. I'm going to mess up my plans for my business. And again, it's that thought of, okay, yes, we all hit mistakes.
yeah.
We all hit failure points, but what did you learn from it? What did you do to overcome it? What are you got in place? And maybe it hasn't like fully come to fruition, but what are your plans? By
Yeah.
doing that, again, you get a chance to see, yeah, okay, I'm working towards this. I got ideas. Not everything is working right, but I'm still growing, I'm still learning, and I'm developing, which means you're on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we have like a bad days and good days. So on a good day, it's
Mhm.
like you're pumped. You know, you're appreciating yourself. You know, everything is going right, and all of them like the motivational stuff like is works that time. But when it's having a bad day, you get blank. Like nothing is like works for you. So having something written, having something is recorded, you can go and listen to it or read something on a journal. That gives you like when you bad time, then you know like exactly what's going on and what kind of mindset shift you need to be making. So even though this
Mhm.
morning like, I had to look through like Q1, how was like our Q1, quarter one of this year. And I
Mhm.
was looking through like there is like a slow our growth of our company, just a little bit down on the summertime, like a Q2. I was like looking, what did I do on the Q1? What didn't I do on Q2? Then I found that like our activity wasn't there because I
Uh-huh.
probably talked to you. My son was on ICU a couple of months and everything, so I didn't had the chance to have like a more connection with the new people, no new customers and everything. So
Mhm.
that's why I couldn't grow like how it's supposed to be growing. And then I looked through like a Q3, I was like, yeah, I did the activity I needed to do, so I hit my goals. So when you look through these kind of things, like you're not gonna be much upset. Now you know like what's the actual problem is, and it's not about yourself. It's about the activity you didn't do. That's why the results or outcome you look for is some kind of like a problem in there. Or sometimes you don't
Right.
control the outcome. That's totally fine. But at
Yeah.
least you can control. Like I did my best during that time, and this is didn't go well. So it's all right. What's the universe as fix it for me is totally fine.
Exactly. And you're right, because like you said, it's like, okay, so
Yeah.
taking that into consideration, okay, so during this particular set of months,
Hmm.
I didn't really do everything I needed to, but what else was going on in my life? Oh, I had a sick family member. I was
Yeah.
traveling back and forth between the hospital, talking with doctors, doing other aspects for them. So, okay, well, is that your fault? Is it because I decided to sit and watch TV all day and not do the work? Obviously not. There were
Yeah.
other factors in there that you couldn't control. So, like you said, you were still doing the best you could within it. And that's one of the things we have to remember too, is that sometimes we have to look back and go, you know what? I was doing my best, or I am doing
Mm,
my best within my current situation
yeah,
and within all the resources I have. Because sometimes we do look at this too later on. We go, oh man, I messed up on this one in like last quarter, for instance. I didn't do this and I should have done that. But then you have to stop and go, well, wait, did I did I actually know that information? Did I
yeah,
understand that concept before? No, I just learned about that this last week. So yes, had I known about that last quarter, I could have definitely done so, but I didn't. So I know it now, and now I can do so forward. So you can't
yeah,
beat yourself up about not knowing information, not having that resource if it just wasn't available to you, and just realizing, hey, I was doing the best I could. Now I know more. Now I have more opportunities. Now I can actually move forward even in different ways and better ways.
yeah. And often see, I see like a lot of people, even though in past myself, I used to blame myself every time I didn't do something right and just go in the back in the past. Well, I didn't do in the past. Well, I don't think I can do it in future or present. And
Mhm.
like a step, it's just stuck with my back of my head all the time. Oh, I didn't do well in the past. What do you think? Like this goal I'm going to be doing again, and then it's a self doubt is to come. Right now, the mindset is still changed. Like whatever happened in the past is past. Everyone got the past, and I need to look what I can do in the present moment or what I can do in the future. And anything mistake I've done in the past, just learn from it and just keep moving forward. Only thing I'm going in the past, just learning the mistake I had and not doing
Yep.
it again, and
Mhm.
just not do the same process over and over. So oftentimes people keep on dwelling, oh, if I could did that, then would have been that. And if I did that kind of activities, my results would be that. It's not actually true. Like only thing you can learn from that the mistake you had, but what is meant to be happening, it just already happened. Nothing you can do, nothing you can change. Only thing you can look forward is the future and the present.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I've been there where I used to look back at the past and my mistakes and go, "Oh, if I had only done this differently,
yeah,
I'd be in a better place now than I actually am. I wish I had made those better choices." Well,
hmm,
okay, that's not going to make any difference. I can't go into the past. I can't make a change.
no,
I'm here. And so, like you said, it's like, I had to learn for myself to realize, okay, I can't fix the past. What occurred in the past? What could I have done differently? And is it something I can apply to my now?
Yeah.
Was there something that I didn't understand then? Was there something that I just totally didn't care about, but now I do? Whatever it might be, learning from it, applying it now, and moving forward. But I'm not upset about my past. I'm not disappointed that I didn't make the right decisions. I made the decisions that I did.
Mhm.
Sometimes it was because it was the best that I could do at the time. Sometimes it was just the circumstances or whatever it might be. And I'm like, okay, well, it brought me to where I am now.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. What I could do is use that, and I'm building on my current present to create a better future. And that's what's the most important part for me. So I don't, yeah, I don't dwell on them. I look at them as learning moments and I keep
Yeah.
moving forward.
Yeah. That's a great way to look at it. And absolutely agree with you on the same thing. And also, like, I want to touch on like hugely, which is like a beginning of the podcast you mentioned. We often compare ourselves with like social media celebrities or friends we see or people around us in the same town, same city. Mostly, I'll say like on the internet at the moment, because
Mhm.
on internet we get to
Mhm.
noticed by everyone, like the friends we've been in college with or university with, the work colleague, he probably started his business and he became a billionaire, and we're trying to compete with them. And even though we haven't started a business yet, and that way we're getting upset. It's everyone's journey is different. So let's talk about that. Like, what do you see like the common problem on like comparing with others?
That's the common problem right there, is that we're comparing our life to
Yeah.
somebody else's. And it's not just what we see in that moment. We look at it and go like, okay, so they're a billionaire. Oh, man, why can't I be the millionaire? What did I do right that I couldn't have been the billionaire? Well, we have totally different lives. How we
Yeah.
were brought up, how our, our communities were, our schooling, our education, our own particular personalities, our behaviors, our opportunities were different. And yet we never ever think about that. We don't put that entire package together when we think about it. We just look at what they have, where they're at, and look at us and go, why isn't that me? And
Yeah.
it can't, we have to think about it. It's like, well, okay, maybe, and I'm just putting this out there. It's like, maybe that person who's a billionaire, well, maybe they were born into money. And so they had a
Mm.
lot of money from a family that they could actually start a big business without having to go through a lot of extra effort. And it made
Yeah.
it easier for them. And okay, well, do I have that? No, I don't have any wealthy family members. Okay, so that opportunity, that possibility is not even there. So I can't compare myself to that person based on that. It's not going to do me any good because I'm looking at two different financial situations, background, family, that I can't compete. I can't
Yeah.
compare myself. And it's like, and at that same time, we also don't ever think about, well, what other possibilities, opportunities, moments, events occurred
Yeah.
that just worked out for them. And it doesn't mean things won't work out for us, because again, we're not looking out for our opportunities. Well, what life events occurred in our life? What happened in our life that has brought us to here? There are things that happen to us that set us on the path that we're currently on,
Mhm.
or where we're at. And we have to reflect on, okay, well, yeah, my life took a turn because of these different reasons, or this occurred and that occurred. And that's just it. It doesn't make it worse. It doesn't make theirs better. It's just the direction we went. And we have to kind of
Yeah.
look at the bigger picture with that, as opposed to looking at those couple of images we see on social media, or seeing some old high school friend or school friend who's now a multi-billionaire doing some amazing things. And all we do is see what they're doing, yet we don't know the last 20 years of their path. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, what else has gone on? And it's really important to understand that there's so many different things that occur, so many different aspects, different variables that create the life that we have, the life that they have, and you can't compare them. And you have to appreciate what you have and who you are too. It's like, again, that's part of it too. It's like, well, look at you. It's like, okay, there's some people who, okay, as soon as they're done with high school, they worked. They would be up for like 18 hours a day
Yeah.
working. They didn't date. They didn't get married until much later, if at all. And it was constantly working, if not even 20 hours a day, getting as little sleep as possible. And that's what they did. And then we'll look at it and go, oh, they're billionaires. I don't have
Mm.
that. How come I don't have it? Well, okay. Would you have wanted to stay up 20 hours a day for 10 years working? And you have to be honest with yourself and go, yeah, no, that's not me. I couldn't do
Yeah.
that. That's just not my personality. Okay. It doesn't make you less of a person. It makes you true to who you are and realize, yeah, okay, for me to actually do this, I have to go down a different path. I have to do it my own way, and I have to base it on my skills. Plus, yes, there's other ones like you look at them and you're like, oh man, they've got all this money and they're all this, notoriety and everything. And you're like, okay, they are a big tech person, using that as an example.
Yeah.
They know technology. They developed a lot of it on their own before starting their company. That's how they started it. Is that my skill? No, that's not my skill.
Yeah.
My skill is in another direction. Okay, well, you can't compare. You have to look at what can you do and build yourself up from there.
Yeah, and we underestimate our true potential as well. Like if you're comparing yourself with someone, yeah, and you have like a greatest potential on some different field, and you're losing out because of the comparison. Like you
Mhm.
mentioned, if you're not tech background and you're trying to be a techie something, and because you're gonna build the next billion-dollar company, and you're probably a great artist or probably a great motivational speaker or probably a life coach who can change millions of people's life on different things. You could do like so many things, and you're probably a great basketball player,
Right.
and you are trying to do something that God hasn't created you on a different direction, and you're looking for like your success in a different direction, and it's not going to be aligned with your success and happiness in a long term. Even though you
No.
can become a millionaire, maybe not a billionaire, you become a millionaire on just copying someone else and
Mhm.
trying to compete with someone else, but the contentment is not going to be there. It's like similar to like if I'm not athlete person and my body composition is not similar to like I can't do marathon, right? And I'm running every day for like a 1 hour, exhausting myself, which is I'm not passionate about, which only just doing it for like my another friend, he's doing it, and he's can run for 6 hours straight without
Mhm.
having a rest because his body is God created this way. He's got the stamina and everything.
Right.
I probably can do like 2 3 hours running, but not competing with as him because I'm not the same person. Same with
Mm.
like if you are a scientist, God has like a different kind of brain given to you, and you have the ability, and you have like some kind of ability which you can sing well, so you can focus on that. So I think like you need to find out yourself like who you actually are before you compete with others, and everyone's journey is different. It- like for great example will be if you're a baseball player, you don't play NBA and fight for like a greatest NBA player because you're a baseball player. You need to find your greatness in NBA field and their stadium, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And you're so right. It's like we miss out on what our qualities are because
Yeah,
we'll see others that they're making their success in whatever field. So we figure, oh, okay, so I need to do that field to make
mm,
my success and be just like them. But you're right. When you do that, you miss out the qualities that you have. You don't appreciate who you are and what you can do.
yeah.
Um,
And even though
so
it takes you to lots of exertion, and also like you mentioned, like you see like a lot of billionaires and everyone, we don't actually know their true life. They probably made a billions.
yeah,
They're successful in career wise. Look at them like how their relationship with their spouse or their kids. Are they giving enough time with them? Are they happy with them? Are their families happy with them? Are the people around are happy with them? So you can achieve a great success, but if your son not listening to you, your daughter's not talking to you, your wife not again the time. So what kind of success is that? Is a materialistic thing we all the time value as a success, but it's not actually true success.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's just it. We need to be able to look at the overall picture. It's like, okay, we may want the success, and oftentimes we put it towards money because that's what we're thinking of when we think of
Yeah,
success. But is that really the success? Because something else comes with it. You can't just say, okay, you know, I'm going to be making $50 million
mm,
without anything else changing in my life. It's all going to be the same, and yet I'll have all this great money. It's like, no, if you're going to be getting that kind of money and earning that kind of money, something else is obviously changing in your life. Well, what are you
yeah,
willing to give up? What are you willing to sacrifice for it? And you've got to know how that's going to work and how it's going to affect you. And at the end of it is like, okay, well, do you really want that? Or do you really want the family dynamic that you really want and a bond and connection with your kids and be able to go and do things with them? It's like, you got to kind of figure that out. And again, it comes back to though really kind of getting in touch with you, like getting in touch with
yeah.
yourself, knowing who you are, what you want, what you appreciate. and that makes such a big difference.
Absolutely. Another thing I see like a more often, which is like a uncertainty. So we don't see like a clear future. That's why we doubt ourselves. We don't appreciate ourselves because we don't see like we're capable of doing the thing we want to do. So
Mhm.
that cripples on the self-doubt. And the reason why we don't appreciate ourselves, we think we're gonna lose on certain things, even though before we started it. Do you see the pattern one with your clients and people you coach on?
Um, yes, there's often this the self-doubt, there's this hesitation because it's the unknown. I mean, you
Yeah,
have this whole big aspect of the unknown. You don't know what, first of all, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? Is this going to be something where, yes, this part works, but then I lose these other aspects that I really enjoy?
yeah,
And because of that, and you end up having this self-doubt as to, well, should I really do this? Is this not, is this going to happen? People will then stop themselves before moving forward. They won't even
mm,
try or attempt it because they're afraid already. Oh no, because if I do this stuff may change, and they've already got this line of thought as to how their life could end up
yeah,
before they've even taken the first step. It's like, you don't know. Yes, more than likely something is going to change, but to that extreme that we often come up with, no, we usually are really good about creating the most devastating direction possible and creating this whole doomsday scenario in our head when that often isn't the case. And the little changes that occur, we end up realizing, oh, wait, that's actually a good change. Now that I've actually stepped out and I've decided to do it, yes, there's changes, but oh, I like this change. This is actually a bigger benefit than I thought it would be. Um, and which is why people need to actually be able to step forward. And again, that's one of those things where you have to be able to put that step into it and just try it. And, doesn't mean that things have to stay.
yeah,
You could try something and realize, ooh, no, I don't like where this is going. I see what's going to be happening directly now, not just, thinking about it, but I can see things lining up. I'm like, I don't like that. So I need to make changes. Great. Then you can make those changes, but it's better to do that than to sit back and go, oh, but what if this happens, and never
mm,
take that chance.
yeah, it's true. And so, like those who come to you for help and like get coached by you. So, what is the process like you take in order to they can appreciate themselves more and achieve more?
Okay, so when I'm talking with the client, usually we're going through a discussion phase as to understanding where they are currently,
Yeah,
where they want to be, and then finding out some of the struggles and some of the challenges as to why they're not there yet, or why they're having some inner conflict with getting there.
mm,
Once we've done that, it's easier for me to kind of understand what's been going on and what their challenges are. And it's constantly a series of questions and discussion to help
yeah,
me to really understand and pull things out of them. Because the biggest thing is for the client to truly understand what their challenges are. Because sometimes as humans, we know what our challenges are, but
yeah,
we don't want to admit them. They're in our head and we're just like, no, 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 that can't be it. That can't be it. So we're constantly trying to like deflect it
avoiding
or
it.
hide
Yeah,
it, avoid it. No, no, deny it. No, no, no. But through conversation, as it comes up, usually people start to recognize it and admit it. And
hmm,
once doing so, then it's a matter of like, okay, so you see this challenge.
yeah,
And then it's that next question is like, okay, well, what could be something you could do to take a step with it? And it could be something where it's just, appreciating their own talents. For instance, let's just say that like they just never see their own talent and they just dismiss it because everybody else could do it better.
yeah,
And so it could be a simple thing of like, okay, so you say you have this talent, but you say other people are better. So what I would do is, for instance, just using that, it's like, okay, to gain this skill and this talent that you have, what did you have to do? What have you gone through? And most of the time, they'll like give just a soft answer of like, well, I went to school for some of it. Like,
yeah,
that's really nice. And that's a superficial answer. And it's great. But then it's me asking deeper questions and pulling more out of them. So this way they can actually hear and see the actual depth of their abilities and skills. And along with it, it's usually not just our conversation. What I'll do then is, in essence, of giving them some homework for like that next week and say,
hmm,
okay, over this next week, we're going to look at that skill and that talent and pick out one other one. And I want you to write down anytime you think of it. Think
yeah,
about something that connects to that skill and talent and write it down and think about what you've actually put into that skill and talent to help it grow. So this way, as they write it down, they start seeing it's not just that single skill and talent, but it's this big wealth of knowledge, of additional skills that all tie into it and have all flown from it. And they start understanding and appreciating what their true abilities are.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at and plan out everything. So like how long do you think like the process actually works in order to they change their mindset to like appreciating themselves?
I know this is going to sound like a really a really kind of like bad answer, but it really does depend on the person, because
Yeah.
some people are ready. They're like, okay, yes, I am ready. I realize I have stumbling blocks and I want to get through them. I'm ready to do whatever it takes and I'm
Mm.
going to work on it. And going through the process, it could take honestly several months to start really kind of getting the foundations to change that mindset, and where they're already willing to do it on their own. There's
Yeah.
others though, it could take 6 months to a year to get them to that point, because there's often a lot of resistance,
Yeah.
or even as they're working on, let's say, writing out some of their skills and achievements in essence, they're already dismissing them. They're still dismissing them. They're like, they'll write down 3 things when really it could have been 10 things, but they're like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I just didn't see this as being really big. And I didn't think that was a really big deal. So I didn't write anything down. And so it's a slower process, because I have to take it one step at a time and go, okay, so this week I want you to focus on this one. And instead of giving them so many things to kind of do, give them that one to focus on, and it helps them to slowly kind of start pulling this together. So each one's a little different. Again, it does depend on the mindset they come in
Yeah.
with, and it depends on their um, their focus on if they're ready to grow or if they're still a little hesitant.
Yeah.
I wouldn't ever work with anybody who doesn't want to actually grow. It's like they're coming in because they're being made to come in. I'm like, okay, that's not going to help, because you're not here for you. But there
Yeah.
are different levels. Some people are like, okay, I'm ready. I know I got to get this. But there's others that are like, I think I do. I know I really should, but I'm just not sure. And it's just, that'll be a slower process.
Mm.
But we get there and they see it.
Yeah, it's like an individual thing. It depends like where they are on the mindset level, right? Some people
Mhm.
it just like you need to remind them, like you need to appreciate yourself, and they're like, oh yeah, I need to, and they just go ahead and do it. And some people like even though you're telling them, guiding through them, still back of their head, still the process is similar to like how they used to be, and taking
Mhm.
long time to like recover from that. Yeah, it's a great way to look at and everything. I really appreciate sharing your knowledge and expertise on this topic. We are running
Thank you.
out of the time for this podcast, Victor. So if anyone wants to reach out to you or like want to work with you or know more about you, how they can find you.
The 2 best ways would be to go to my website, which is Victor, Victor, Moss, MOS.com, or go to my Instagram, which is Doc Moss, DOC, MOS, inspired. Um, and that's at Instagram. And I've got different videos up there as well, but there's ways to message me, connect with me, and it's the easiest way to do so. So definitely.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. So I really appreciate it for like coming to the show and taking the time for our audience. I really enjoyed it and learned from you a few things as well. So I wish you good luck with it, and
Thank you.
yeah, have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. And I very much appreciate the opportunity to chat with you about this topic and have a great discussion. So thank you. I hope you have a great week.
Yeah, you're most welcome. Thank you. So that's a wrap, guys. So you know how to find Victor if you want to work with him or reach out to him for any kind of coaching or like again some advice from him. Until then, so I'll talk to you in the next episode. Stay safe, stay healthy. Talk to you soon.